Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us, and we will be starting now. So before we actually dig into the topics, I would want to ask you to do a couple of technical things. First of all, if you, for some reason, don't hear me, please join the audio as you see on the screens are some instructions. Another thing that we want to ask you is please stop sharing your video if you do, and also please not share your screen as it can interfere with this webinar. And one last thing before we start, there is a chat option that some of you already are using. You can ask any technical support in that chat, but also you can start asking your questions in the chat box, as some of my colleagues are also joining us and will help you. So here is our agenda as it is planned and was communicated before. As you see, we will follow the agenda, and there is a specific time for questions and answers, but I invite you to start asking your questions in the chat, as I mentioned before. So let's now give a floor to some opening remarks to IFLA Secretary General, Gerald Leitner.
Dear colleagues, is it with great pleasure that I welcome you to this webinar. Thank you all for joining us here. It is the first of our Library Map of the World webinars, which have the aim to work with you together, to give you support in the work on the Library Map of the World, and also to raise awareness about. Thank you for joining this here, and I guess it's very important that you spend the time together with my team, which will start soon the work with you. It's just 1 year ago that we started the work on the Library Map of the World, and 1 week ago we celebrated an incredible success. 100 countries have already joined the Library Map of the World, and it's incredible what we reached in this time. This was only possible in a work which we are doing together, you and IFLA, my team, together with you. And I want to thank all of you for your contributions, all the library, the national library associations, the national libraries in your countries, and also the support organizations which are providing us permanently with data and also with SDG stories. But this was just the start of our incredible project. As IFLA always has the aim to improve, to grow, and also to becoming better, we are going now to the next stage. We are launching at our Congress in Kuala Lumpur the country pages. And these country pages will give an overview not only about data in your country, it will give an overview about library legislation in your country, the situation of libraries in your country, library information services, library schools, journals. This means all people in the world who want to know more about the situation of libraries in your countries can go to the pages and get a first overview. We know that will be hard work and you will need support, and this is the aim of this webinar, to help you. Because we all know we need this library map of the world, because we know only with valid statistic data, stories, background information about the power of the library field, we can make powerful advocacy, and we can so improve the situation of libraries all over the world, and we can inspire the people and show the power of libraries. That's the aim of the webinar, and I'm sure you will enjoy it together with my team, which will start now the work on it. I hope I can see many of you in Kuala Lumpur. Not all of you will come, but go on working together with IFLA, and I hope to see all of you on the library map of the world. Thank you for being here.
So the next item on the agenda, and before we start to dig into the topics, I want to introduce the Library Map of the World team. So my name is Christina, and I'm with the Library Map of the World since its first day. And I know many of you, and many of you know me, but I really look forward also to meet many of you in Kuala Lumpur, to put faces on the emails that we exchanged with many of you. So I would like to introduce my colleague Eshka. Unfortunately, she was not able to join us for this webinar today. She joined our team 8 months ago, and she's now currently assisting with curating SDG Stories, and she's working in the membership team, and you may know her also if you are our member and exchange some of the communications, but you can also contact her regards the Library Map of the World related issues. And now I want to introduce you to Veselina, who is actually with us today.
Hello. Hi, my name is Veselina, and I also work for the membership team. I started in IFLA and at the Library Map of the World team in January this year. Currently, I am involved in processing and analyzing the country data, and I also stay in touch with all the contributors. Another aspect is that I'm involved in the curation of the SDG stories as well, and I also assist Christine in other matters. Thank you.
Thanks, Veselina. Veselina will be with us today during the whole workshop, and she will actually track the questions that you will be asking in the chat. So please feel free, just ask your questions at any time. And let's just dig into the content of today's webinar. And as we promised, we will be talking about 3 directions in which the Library Map of the World project is currently working in, and we can also tell that these are 3 different areas how you can engage with us and make yourself visible on the Library Map of the World. And I will walk you shortly through each of them separately. At first, we will talk about the data, a little bit about the scope, where the data comes from, what is the cycle of collecting it and putting it online on the Library Map of the World, and how the curation process looks like. After that, we will focus on country pages, where I will also explain a little bit about the scope of what is to be launched in Kuala Lumpur, how we work together with partners to get the content, and what the content itself looks like. And we will talk a little bit about what it takes to curate that process, both for us and for our content partners. And we will finish the webinar with the 3rd topic, which is the SDG stories. And we will shortly talk about minimum requirements for each story and how you can engage it and what it takes for us and for you to curate that story until it goes published and online. So let me start with data. And data is something from where we actually started the Library Map of the World, and you can find all what we will be talking now online in the section which is currently called Home. So if we talk about the scope, it actually didn't change from where we started. We are collecting data on 8 metrics. Which is the number of libraries and libraries with internet access, staff and volunteers, as well as users and visits, and loans, both physical and electronic. For this year, I want to tell you that our priority is is number of libraries and libraries with internet access, as we want to get more countries with at least these data points online on the map. Also needs to be mentioned that we are collecting this data across all library types, which you can see on the screen, starting from national libraries, academic, public, community libraries separately, school libraries, and all the other library types. I want to mention here that you can find all definitions of both the library types and the metrics in the About section of the library map of the world. If you wonder how we are collecting number of libraries, for example, or staff, we have both definitions and the counting instructions published in the About section. So, as Gerald already mentioned, it would never be possible without the cooperation and partnerships with our data partners in each country is the basis of everything. So we work with selected data partners who are gathering data at the national level, working together with other institutions or those who has the statistics in the library field. And they can only do that if the data collection starts at every individual library. Our data partners, the biggest part of them are national library associations, and in other cases, there are countries where we work with national libraries or other libraries, like, for example, bigger university libraries who took the role to help us with those statistics. If we take a look on data collection and the process from the timeline perspective, this is an annual cycle, and both in terms of data collection and getting it online on the library map of the world, but also I want to mention that we are looking forward to getting data from countries which reflects annual cycle. So it starts for us in spring, and it starts also for our data partners at the national level, as libraries usually report their statistics from the last year starting from January. So it takes a couple of months to get some data updates, and usually in spring, in March or April, we did it previously, and we will continue that. We will reach out to our data partners with invitation to submit or update the existing data. So for those who wants their data to be published or updated before our Congress, we usually put some deadline, but I want to tell that this is an ongoing process also, and you can update us at any time in the year, which is more convenient also for you. At the end of the year, in terms of data, we will conduct an engagement analysis to see how we did last year and what has improved, how many countries joined us this year. And we will also calculate what we call data availability percentage index. And those who engaged with us last year already know it and received. This is the overview of what we were able to put online for each respective country. And I think it will be very interesting to compare it, let's say, in 5 years and see how all of us improve, not only on library map of the world, but also nationally. Here's one very important thing that I want to mention is that we really expect that you start with what you have and you start with existing statistics. We don't expect that you have data for all data points or all metrics for every library type. We are happy to receive whatever exists in your country and then improve year by year. So if your country is not online and you're worried that you don't have enough data to join the library map of the world, it's not so. You can join and we are welcoming, especially this year, just to report on number of libraries and number of libraries with internet access if possible. Another thing to mention is that we work with our data partners nationally, and we expect that, that they submit aggregated data. It means that that libraries report to the national body their statistics, and then they are aggregated and submitted to the library map of the world. Practically, the data submission takes place through an electronic submission form, and this is a unique link to the survey, which we share with each partner separately, which can then be used as an electronic platform where we can exchange the new updates or the new data. And one last thing, and this is more important for those whose data is already published on the library map of the world last year, and there may be cases that you still don't have new statistics and you have nothing to update. I still want to invite you to fill in the form, even if the previously submitted data didn't change. And there is a reason for that, because also online on the website, we now have an option to display separately cases when data is not available for certain metrics. And those cases when these metrics or even certain library type, like for example, community libraries, may not be applicable. Previously, last year, we had this opportunity for the whole library type, but now we have this opportunity to identify if certain metric in the library type is not applicable. Let me give you an example. For example, the metric on ebook loans may be not applicable because you don't have such a service in the country at all. So it makes no sense to us to display the data is not available. It is more meaningful to say that this metric is not applicable and the data is not being collected, right? So, and one last thing on data is that what happens next when you submit is that our team, currently Veselina and myself, we are doing some quality check of this data, and we will be talking to the contributor, exchanging emails and asking questions about certain numbers, especially if there is a big difference from the last year. We will ask why, and we will try to work together to make sure that what we publish is of a certain quality. So we set up a weekly process, and now every Friday we are updating the library map of the world data section with putting online new updated data as well as adding new countries. And you've heard already that a couple of weeks ago or last week, it seems longer, we actually reached 100 countries, right? So on Fridays, after making this update, we will also do some communications on our Twitter account, and I invite you to follow those changes and learn what has changed by visiting our Twitter at IFLA Library Map. So I walked you through the data collection process, and now let's focus on country pages. And this is probably the big unknown for every one of you, but you just need to wait a couple of more weeks and we will reveal how it will look like in Kuala Lumpur when we will all meet at IFLA Congress. And it is very exciting because that process started just 1 year ago when we had the discussion with our members in IFLA Congress in Wrocław by generating ideas what it can look like and what could be the content to include in those country pages. So we managed to include almost everything that from the feedback that we've got in Wrocław. And let me then just move forward and explain the scope. So if we talk about the content, it comes from two sources, let's say. One we can call it's a generated content. It's not generating from somewhere automatically. Here is our team working together with software developers to make this possible. So we will generate facts about the country. There will be a separate section providing expanded view on performance metrics for each country in their page. A very interesting section on contextual indicators. We will be integrating indicators from the World Bank and from United Nations. For example, data on information infrastructure or skills or literacy, things that are in context shows the bigger role of the libraries that they're playing in their countries. And one last but not least is that there will also be a separate section which will be an overview of all SDG stories that country has submitted and published on the library map of the world, and will be at a glance view on certain SDGs that the country is contributing. And another big part, which we can call contributed content, is something that we are asking our contributors to engage with us and to work with us together by providing this content for their country. It will start with a narrative description of the library environment. It is up to 500 words, a descriptive part, including what are the library system looks like, what are some of the main characteristics of certain library types, and which will end with a list of some major achievements or things that the country is proud of. Right, there will be a place to put links to library location resources, as many countries are creating their own maps of library geolocations or addresses, so that people can easily navigate and find the library if they need. And it will also have separate sections on different organizations, policy and legislation, and education and events. The last three will each have a short description of, would it be an organization or a certain library law or legal deposit law, and we'll have a link to the actual document, the full text, if it exists. So this is generally about the scope. So in this case, our content partners in majority of cases are the same institutions with whom we work to collect data for the library map of the world. These are again national library associations, national libraries, and other organizations. But here we heavily trust that those organizations at the national level work together with other institutions or experts in the library field, because what we ask is to provide the national level picture, and those organizations, our content partners, needs to inform other institutions that they are putting information about them online on the library map of the world, or to engage with those institutions and experts more closely to co-create that content, especially the descriptive parts of their country page together. If we analyze this process, and it only started, but we imagine that it is an ongoing process, we welcome you to engage with us at any time when you feel ready, and when you have that content gathered, and then you can submit it to us and we will curate it together. But again, in the same way as with data, in the springtime we will reach out to you and we will ask you to review your content. We'll ask you to check if all the links that you put online are still valid, or you may want to change them. If you want to add some additional information on some organization, or maybe there is a new library law. So the facilitation in that way will be just as a reminder, and we will try to keep close relationships with each of one of you during the year. And work together. So at the end of the year, we will do some engagement analysis to see how we are doing, and we'll communicate this result with you as well. Here is one essential precondition to have the country page online. is that we need to have some information about your data published online on the library map of the world. Therefore, if you will submit the country page information for us, but we will not have data from you, we will reach out to you and will ask to do it. And I'm saying information about data because non-existing data in country is also information for us. And there is a way how to display that information on your country page. And I want to tell you also that it may be a powerful tool for you to advocate for the national data collection in your country. But coming back to country pages, so for our contributors, the first step would be to really review the submission form, which we shared with you in PDF form, to identify those areas and information gaps where you need to reach out to other organizations or experts to gather that information that is needed. And in the same way as with data, we have a separate electronic submission form in way of the unique link, which is again shared with our content partners. So when we will get that content, we will curate it once again. And as I mentioned, the country pages will be launched in just 2 weeks in Kuala Lumpur. And in the same way, we will also later integrate the communications on our Twitter account so that you can also benefit in terms of your local advocacy and can share this important information with your partners. And the last topic I want to shortly touch is SDG Stories, which you currently also can find in a very small number on the library map of the world. And here I just want to remind you that we published the storytelling manual, which really is aimed to help you to prepare your story in a way so that we can faster get it online. If you will go to the library map of the world about section, you can find the link where you can download this document and use it in your preparation. In this webinar, I just shortly want to mention that there is a minimum requirement for each story, and this is in detail described in the manual. This is that each story must have 3 parts. One is not only what we did, how and when. This is the description of the library service activity or the program, but each story must also have a description of why. And this is where we are focusing on our community, on our users, describing what are the challenges that the specific service is targeted at. Would it be literacy, illiteracy, poverty, or health related? It doesn't matter, but we want to know more about the community where your library is located and the challenge that you are trying to solve. And the most important part is to have some impact of your service. Would it be descriptive or in terms of the numbers? That would provide an evidence of how your library was contributing to the community challenge. So what happens when your story reaches us? We will start the curation, and it may take shorter or longer time, but it will be organized in 3 stages. First, we will just work on your narrative part, and here is important that you really, before submitting it, review the storytelling manual, specifically section how to tell the story, and use the checklist, because the checklist and ideas included in the storytelling manual will be something against which we will be reviewing it. So when we decide on the final version of the narrative, we will focus on illustrations, and we'll talk more about the pictures, videos, and further information links, which you will want to add to your story. And here is important that you also read some advices and tips included in the storytelling manual. And I would refer you to the sections on how to tell your story visually, as well as important thing is to see how to deal with the copyright. And when it's all done, the final version in English is agreed. We will be working on translation because the library map of the world provides an opportunity to add story in another language than English as well. And we will provide an opportunity for you to translate all the narrative as well as the metadata for pictures and videos and further information links. So now we walk through every 3 areas. And what you see now on your screens is an overview. So as I was mentioning, that we are working with contributors, and there are different ways how you can engage with the library map of the world. So if you are interested in contributing data, so and you are not our data partner, if you are individual library, for example, the first thing would be that we would ask you to contact your National Library Association or the National Library, and this is the way how you can inform also our data partners about other data that you may have if it's not included. And that also is that other data owners would work together with our data partner to provide us with the aggregated statistics. The same is in the country pages, but in terms of the SDG stories, individual libraries can themselves submit their stories by using electronic submission form or work with the national partner. And we have cases where there is a national partner for SDG stories in the country, and individual libraries from the country submit their stories to the national partner, and the national partner submits those to us. And this is maybe something where I can encourage some of you to become a mediator in your country and to help especially those smaller libraries and the librarians who has a challenge with English, for example. So in all that you see in the middle part, we call Library Map of the World contributors. And those are all institutions whose names and links to their websites are published on the Library Map of the World in the section Contributors. And this is to provide an opportunity for users to learn more about our contributors, as well as to get in touch with our contributors as well. So this was the very short overview of what we prepared for you today. I just want to remind you once again about our Twitter account. This is where you can learn about all the news. Please use the hashtag World Library Map and other hashtags to find more content related to the Library Map of the World. And when you visit the website, please go to the Library Map of the World About section. And we prepared a lot of content that we think could help and support you. But if you don't find an answer to your question in that place, please feel free to contact us at librarymap@ifla.org at any time, and we will try to get back to you. So now is the time for questions and answers. And as I see, we have received many questions from you, and I will just try to start answering some of them as we still have some time. Yes. So the first question that I will answer is, do IFLA provide data collection format at the national level for this map? And this is a good question, actually, especially for those countries where the national data collection systems are not that developed and maybe is in the early stages of development. And you really don't have existing statistics. Yes, we can support you in your efforts by providing you with simple templates and advice how you can collect those statistics from your libraries. If you are in this situation, please just reach out to us, write an email, explain your situation, and we will try to help you. The next question I will answer is, is IFLA able to help us with strategies on how best to collect information on some libraries that is not centrally recorded like special libraries? Yes, we can help with that as well. If we would talk with our national partner and we would try to better understand the situation, but there are ways how we can help that as well. Every situation is different, and once again I want to ask you to reach out with those asks for help and support, as we can try to work together to tackle some of the challenges at the national level as well. And I want to say that I experienced with some of the partners that actually the presence on the library map of the world can really be a powerful advocacy tool at the national level to influence the national collections of the library statistics. So please just try to reach out to us. Okay, the next question is, when I checked online, Kenya was missing at the IFLA map of the world. How can I add data about the libraries in Kenya? Can I add data as an individual, or is it the duty of Kenya Library Association to add the data or content? We have contacts in Kenya, and we have partners whom we're working with. Because I don't know who exactly asked this question in the chat, I would want to encourage you to reach out to us, and we can try to help you put in contact either with our partner in Kenya or try to figure out other way how you can contribute. So the next question is, do you have a form for the country pages, or will it be an online form? Yes, we have a form. We have an electronic submission form for country pages, and this form is shared with selected content partner. In that way, if you haven't received that form and you're concerned, please reach out to us by telling from which country you are, and we will put you in contact with either our content partner, or maybe it's you who will become one. Okay, we still have some time, yes. The next question is, if the data of 2018 is not available, what can we do? Should we repeat data from 2017? This is a very good question, and thank you for asking this, because you are not the only person asking that. So I probably didn't explain it very correctly. So because the data submission form mentions the year, and we say that it's 2018 data submission form, we are looking forward to data from 2017. Like this year, the last complete annual cycle for libraries is 2017. That would be the latest data you may have. I also need to mention that it can be 2014 or 2015, because there are countries which are not collecting data, especially from certain library types every year, but may collect every other year. So any year which is older than 2018 is what we are looking forward. Can I have yes, the next question? How often do you require stories? There is no timeline for stories. We are working with those stories whenever they are submitted. And you can submit your story at any time, which is convenient for you. And you can submit as many stories as you want, and we will work with them as soon as we receive them through an electronic submission form. Just a small tip that you can find this electronic submission form to submit your story if you will go to the Library Map of the World website About section. There is a whole subsection devoted specifically to SDG stories, and you will find the storytelling manual there, as well as simple steps that you need to take before you actually submit the story. Okay, so the next question is, are the online forms only in English? Yes, the working language for the Library Map of the World currently is English. All forms are set up in English. But if we, for example, talk about data, these are mainly numbers that you need to report, and you can also include your content in other languages. So our team speaks several languages at this moment, and I just want to share the secret that we all are using Google Translate to understand each other. And if the English is a problem for you, you are welcome to write to us in any language, and we will find either the colleague or the help of Google, and we'll try to communicate in all possible ways with you. So the language should not be the problem in that. So the next item is, who can submit data on behalf of a country, national library, or other institution? So as I said, we were trying, since we started, we were trying to establish a relationship with one selected organization in each country. We reached out to our members, who are national library associations, national libraries, other institutions, and trying to do that, right? If and there are cases where we don't have a partner yet, but if you are interested to become a partner, I want to encourage you to just write an email to us. We can either put you in contact with the organization we are working currently, or try to establish other relations. What we don't do is that we don't accept submissions from individual libraries, because it's hard for us to understand the context in every country, to aggregate this information correctly, and that is also one of the reasons why we need a partner. And one last question that I'm answering now is, what happens in Kuala Lumpur if we are introducing the Library Map of the World? We launched the Library Map of the World in last Congress in Wrocław. It is available for everyone as it is already for 1 year. In Kuala Lumpur, we will launch the functionality of country pages. Also, there will be other occasions where you will be able to interact with the Library Map of the World team and talk about other issues. There will be a separate session organized by Statistics and Evaluation section, which will talk also about the SDG stories and the use of the Library Map of the World in advocacy and other efforts at the national level. And I will be there, and I will be happy to meet you and to talk about other issues that are important for you and that we were not able to cover in this webinar. So now I'm revealing that actually we received many more questions that I was able to actually answer during those couple of minutes, I want to say. So we kept track of all questions, and what we will do is that we will provide answers to every question that was asked in chat during this webinar, and we will post those answers in the same place where you will later also find the recording and the slides of today's webinar. So I want to say big thank you to everyone who joined us today for this very first webinar of the Library Map of the World. And see you in Kuala Lumpur and on the Library Map of the World.